Hi, this is Adrian Melito once again from Miami Acupuncture Therapy, and today we're going to talk about the Acupuncturist Healthy Home Garden. And many of you might wonder, why am I doing a video about gardening if we're a holistic clinic? Well, I think the best remedy of most conditions and many conditions is to make sure you don't get it in the first place, and that you start with healthy eating. Many people talk about, large organic food retailers, maybe a little too expensive, is out of my budget, is not worth it. Well, here's an alternative where you could supplement that. You can get a little bit maybe from the health food store, a little bit from the regular store, and then from the garden, you could probably get like a large chunk of your essential calories in a healthy form. And since you grow it yourself, you know what you're getting. You don't need to grow like 100% of your caloric intake, but the more percentage you get, the better, the more beneficial, and any little thing counts. So culturally, many people don't take advantage of the real estate they have, because from a cultural perspective, the thing is to have like a well manicured green lawn, and most people don't take advantage of that space and use it for something that could really nourish you. We're gonna start. I'm gonna give you a little tour of what I have. We start with coconut trees, coconut oil. You can probably get as much as 10% of your caloric intake with this high quality superfood, and many times with landscapers, etc., they just end up throwing them away, where they have many uses, whether it's the coconut water, the actual oil, and maybe like the scrapings of it. You put it in your smoothie if you're going more on the keto route. Even the coconut water. And then you don't need to make everything look like, like rows, make it look like a farm or anything. You can make it very aesthetic by making things in concentric circles. If you look like at the moringa tree here, another superfood in its own right, you have it like in a little row along the driveway, kind of keep it aesthetic. I did make some rows here, which if I had to do it again, I'd probably do a little differently, make it a little bit more aesthetic. I'd probably do a different pattern. But if you go to the side here, what many people can do is take advantage of the side space in your house. I know if you live in a suburban area, it's very difficult to find space. Here we planted 4 moringa trees just a few years ago. They're not even from the original cutting yet, since they're on the south facing side. They get some great sun exposure and very thick and healthy. And here we have some cassava yucca, which we're gonna talk a little bit more about that in a moment, and have it like a little sugarcane cluster there in the corner. But just one of the ideas of what you can do even on the side of your house, which many people, it's not even like a usable space, but you can utilize it for something that's so healthy. And speaking of moringa trees, it's also considered a superfood. It's basically like spinach on steroids. It has almost a full spectrum of amino acids. You probably fulfill almost your entire micronutrient and vitamins needs just from that alone. You can put it in a smoothie or a soup, and even though leafy greens consist of maybe like a small part of your caloric requirements, because they're very small caloric content in the micronutrient world, it can serve that purpose. And then you have like some potato leaves. It's a little vine. They can spread all over the ground, and they're very edible, very rich in iron, and a lot of times it's much easier to do than just to have like beds of like lettuce and kale and stuff you find in the food stores. sometimes requires like more maintenance, growing from seed, where you know these things and moringa trees can be cut from cuttings. Even things like dandelion leaves are just as beneficial as um, lettuce and traditional vegetables you buy in the store, and things like aloe vera that you could also grow, easy to grow and duplicate if you know how to do so. Um, and then over here, we used to have a lychee tree, and in gardening, there's always a lot of trial and error, and you have a lot of successes, and you also have your failures. So, it's one of the things about gardening. But with everything, you learn more. Here we have papaya, which is very easy to grow as well from seeds. Sometimes you have like a male plant or a female plant. The female plant is the one that produces the fruit. For those of you who don't have all the years to invest and wait for like a fruit tree to start giving you fruit, this one in a few months can give you the fruit. And then we had a problem with the top, so we cut it, and then we had more spread out, and we already have like little fruits coming out. And papaya trees are also a space saver, so this is another one that you can grow on the side of your house. Like I mentioned before, you don't have to wait years like some of the other fruit trees. It's like an investment. Although I do consider it like a good investment. It's almost like a 401k, like it's years in the making, but once you start getting it, it's free, and there's no maintenance. It's just, you just pick the fruit. And right next to me here is a guanabana, which is another like superfood, very medicinal, anti-cancer. The leaves also have other medicinal benefits if you put it in a tea. And this one I purposely put on the side of the house because it's very, very tropical, almost even a little too tropical for South Florida, where even like one day of chill of like 30 degrees can actually kill it. I've had it been stressed before, a little bit in shock from a couple cold weather episodes while the leaves fell off, but we were able to resuscitate it with some tender loving and care. And I purposely put it right next to the wall of my house and the side of the house, so when one of those cold winds on a real chilly winter day come, it leaves a little bit more protected, and actually protected it from a hurricane. Once it ripped off like the very top of the tree, it pretty much held its own. It's protected by the wall of the house. Here we have some rural bananas. Real quick pan there. And if you walk over this way, cassava yucca is probably the easiest thing to grow in South Florida. You just put the stem in the ground every year, and after you harvest, you replant the stems. They have like small trace amounts of cyanide, so the bugs won't eat it. They don't require much watering. After the summer, they usually like retain the water, and they're very thick in the calories as far as like your caloric intake. It can provide a nice percentage of your calories. If you time it to harvest during the holidays, you don't even have to go to the store and buy and worry about health varieties. You get it right here from your backyard, and it's also very space saver efficient. So something to think about. Very useful root crop. And of course you have avocados, just to give you a little variety from the coconuts. If you have too much coconuts and too many consecutive days in a row, could be a little upsetting in your stomach if you're not, especially if you're not that accustomed to it. And this is a good fruit oil, oily calories, healthy oily calories that could be very supportive for your energy. Healthy fat calories, polyunsaturated, and it's a good supplement with the coconut oil, with the coconuts, just a variety in between. Here in competition to harvest before the squirrels do. Then here we also have a mango tree, very mature. When I bought this house, I was very lucky that it was on the north side, so the sun doesn't shade anything because it's on the north end. So it doesn't cover anything else I want to grow in my backyard, so that's a positive thing. If I knew about what I know now, I probably would have pruned it much more when I was younger, when the tree was younger, which one prevents squirrels and animals from getting it as much, so it discourages them a little bit more, and they're much easier to harvest, and the branches are more multiplied in between, in the hollow space in between the tree. But anyways, that's it for part one. In the next part, we're going to talk about the rest of my garden, some of the things I have in containers, even a couple of chickens I have for free protein, and which I feed a lot with moringas, but we'll get into that later. So stay tuned, and if you like more of this type of thing for the videos, just stay tuned and be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel.